Okay, imagine this. You walk into your office and it's just freezing again. Or, you get that new phone and it feels, I don't know, just a little too big in your hand. Or maybe even more worrying, picture a car crash test dummy. That thing that's supposed to keep us safe. What if I told you it might not be designed to protect everyone equally? So let's unpack that. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some really fascinating sources, mainly centered around this pretty groundbreaking book. It's called Invisible Women: Uncovering the Gender Data Gap by Caroline Criado Perez. And our mission here really is to pull out the key insights, to sort of reveal how the world is often designed, maybe unconsciously, maybe not, by men and primarily for men. We're going to explore this thing called the gender data gap. Basically, where's the data on women and how does that missing data affect, well, everything, your health, your safety, money, even just walking down the street?
Yeah, it's kind of wild how these little everyday things like feeling cold or your phone size actually connect to this enormous systemic issue. And as we get into it, you'll see how this hidden bias, it has really profound consequences, often invisible, like the title says, but we can definitely make them visible today.
It really is mind-boggling when you start thinking about it. So the basic problem is that tons of systems are built using data that just, well, forgets about half the population.
That's precisely it. That's the core argument you find in these sources.
Hmm?
Most of our systems think about medical research, government policy, product design, you name it. They're often based on data from the quote-unquote average male.
Hmm.
Women just haven't historically been included in that data collection. And that leads to outcomes that aren't just, unfair. Sometimes they're actually dangerous.
Right. That makes me think immediately about health. I mean, that seems like such a critical area where this gap could be huge. What do the sources say there?
Oh, absolutely. Healthcare is a stark example. For decades, clinical trials, they overwhelmingly used male subjects. So think about heart attacks.
Yeah.
Women often experience different symptoms, nausea, fatigue, maybe dizziness, not the classic chest pain men usually get.
Huh.
And because the research was based on men, those symptoms were often missed, overlooked.
Which means delayed diagnosis.
Exactly, delayed diagnosis and tragically, yeah, higher death rates for women from heart attacks. It's not just a small oversight, it's a data gap that literally costs lives.
Wow. That's incredibly sobering. And look, if it's that deeply embedded in something as vital as medicine, it makes you wonder about, well, just our everyday lives, like the workplace.
Yeah, the workplace is another great example. You mentioned feeling cold in the office earlier.
Mm.
Well, it turns out standard office temperatures are often set based on the metabolic rate of an average man,
Get out. Right.
really, which is generally higher than the average woman's metabolic rate.
Yeah.
So yeah, countless women are just uncomfortably cold at work. It seems small, but it's constant. And beyond just comfort, think about workplace policies. They often don't account for the huge amount of unpaid care work looking after kids, elderly parents, which is still predominantly done by women. And that impacts things like career progression, meeting schedules, all sorts of stuff.
So even the air conditioning is a subtle reminder of this default male setting. It's like the world's thermostat is set for men. It really does feel like it's actively exclusionary sometimes, not just different. Which, okay, leads to the next question. If our offices aren't quite designed for everyone, what about the things in them, the tools we use, our physical safety?
That's a critical point. You see it in product design all the time. Smartphones, like you mentioned, often sized for larger hands, power tools, even safety gear, like protective vests or goggles, often doesn't fit women properly, making it less effective or even unsafe. But maybe the most alarming example, the one you brought up at the start, is the crash test dummy.
Right.
Historically, they were based entirely on the average male physique. They've introduced female dummies more recently, but often they're just scaled-down male versions or only tested in the passenger seat. And the result, their sources cite this shocking statistic. Women are 47% more likely to be seriously injured in a car crash, even when you account for other factors.
47%. That's not an inconvenience. That's genuinely life-threatening.
Exactly. It shows that a huge chunk of our safety standards are built on incomplete, biased data. It's a chilling thought.
It really is. And if our products and our cars have these baked-in biases, what about the wider environment? The cities we live in, the streets we walk down. Is that designed with a male default too?
Oh, definitely. That's a massive area the book explores. Think about public transport. City planning often prioritizes the single direct commute, suburb to city center, office, and back,
Right.
which is more typically a male travel pattern. Women's travel patterns are often more complex. They might involve multiple shorter trips, trip chaining, it's called, maybe dropping kids at school, going to a part-time job, then shopping, then visiting an elderly relative.
Mm.
But Bus routes, train schedules, they often don't cater well to that kind of travel.
Right.
And then there's safety, things like street lighting, the location of bus stops, even the design of public toilets. They're often designed without adequately considering women's safety concerns, especially at night, or how they might use the space differently, maybe with children or bags.
So the very layout of our cities, even a bus route can have these unseen biases baked in. It feels so pervasive from the phone in your hand to the street outside. What about the less physical stuff, our digital world? Surely tech is neutral, right?
You'd hope so, but no. The data gap follows us online too. AI and machine learning systems. They learn from the data they're trained on. And guess what? That data often reflects the biases already present in the world.
So garbage in, garbage out, basically.
Kind of, yeah. Take voice recognition software, like on your phone or smart speaker.
Yeah.
It's pretty well documented that these systems are often less accurate for female voices
Why?
because the huge data sets used to train them. Historically, they contained more male voice recordings, so the algorithm literally learns male voices better.
Wow.
And it's not just annoying, right? If voice commands don't work properly, it can limit access to information or functionality. It essentially replicates real-world inequalities in the digital space.
And thinking globally, this isn't just a Western issue, is it? The sources talk about impacts everywhere.
Absolutely not. This is a global phenomenon. The book highlights examples from developing countries where the failure to collect data on women, or to consider their needs, has really severe consequences. Think about access to basic sanitation toilets, or safe, reliable transport to get to markets or healthcare, or even just efficient ways to collect water. When development projects or policies ignore how women live and what they need because they haven't collected the data, it directly impacts their health, their safety, their ability to get an education or earn a living. It really hammers home that this gender data gap is universal, and the consequences can be incredibly dire.
So wrapping this part up, what's the big takeaway here? Our deep dive into Invisible Women, it's really shown us that the world isn't designed neutrally, is it? It's overwhelmingly built on a male default. And we've seen how this gender data gap affects just about everything. Healthcare, how comfortable you are at work, the design of things we use, how our cities work, even our technology. And the consequences aren't trivial. They can be economically unfair, or even, as we've seen, life-threatening. The book and exploring these ideas, it really does make the invisible visible.
It really does. And it's crucial to understand this isn't just about pointing fingers or highlighting inequality for its own sake. It's about seeing how this oversight is systemic. It's structural. It wasn't necessarily malicious, maybe, but it's baked in. But importantly, this isn't just a women's issue. That's a key message from the sources. Addressing these biases, filling the data gap, it leads to smarter design, fairer systems, better outcomes for everyone. Men, women, society as a whole. Ultimately, it's about justice, yeah, but it's also just about better, more effective design for all humans.
That's a really powerful way to put it. And it leads to this thought. Once you start seeing this bias, you really can't unsee it. So as you go about your day after listening to this, maybe start looking around. The phone you hold, the car you drive, the office you sit in, the apps you use, the policies that affect your life. How many of those things feel like they were truly designed with everyone in mind? It makes you ask, doesn't it? What other hidden biases might be lurking in your own environment? And maybe more importantly, how can recognizing them push us all to question those default settings and maybe advocate for a world that, truly works for everybody?